So, which one is better investment, duplex or single family home? I'll try to give you a shorter answer without going through like cash flow analysis and things like that. Yes, I'm not one of those like guru guys own like 200 units type of thing. I'm not one of those guys. But this is coming from me as a real estate agent for the last 14 years and owning my own duplex and twice. Okay, ooh, that was hard to open. So I'm going to give you more of a practical price and then the cash flow a little bit, and I'll give you ultimately which one I will buy if I'm buying right now one of these. And I'm gonna base everything on the Portland, Oregon market, not Portland, Maine market. I don't have any idea what Portland, Maine is like. But like I mentioned, I do sell real estate for the last 14 years, and I own a duplex and my primary home too. Jump right into it. These are the things that I'll be considering when I'm comparing these two. In the Washington County of like the Portland metro area, the duplex you can find somewhere from about 550 and up. 550 is more like Forest Grove. If you come to like Hillsboro, like Beaverton, it kind of jumps to about 600 plus. Now, when it comes to single family home, I wouldn't look at anything above $450,000. Just right off the bat, it's not really something like apple to apple comparison. It's like apple and orange right here, but I'll still get to my point, which one I like better based on the price. So it's more expensive on the duplex side, but you have one more door. One more door means one more unit, two different tenants rather than one tenant. One thing to consider is when you have more units, the vacancy exposure 50% less because you have more tenants. If one tenant left, you still have one. In single family home, that one tenant leaves, it's vacant. That means you don't get any rental income, meaning you have to pay that mortgage no matter what. So that exposure, that's one of the biggest difference. When you talk about the location, it's kind of equal. Because the way I look at it is, if I'm like a homeowner or if I'm a renter, do I want to live in that neighborhood? That's the first question that I ask. So I go to a neighborhood, it's a busy road, things are not that maintained. I don't want to live there. And that's a good indicator. That's not a good location to buy in either product. The condition of it. Now, typically, the duplexes are going to have a little bit rougher condition because they're more used in the past history as an investment property, whereas the single family home may have been used as a just regular family owner owned home. So you have to consider that and kind of look at when you buy the property, how much you have to upfront add in to fix the property. And so we can talk about it a little bit more probably on a other video because it gets pretty in depth. And then average rental. Now, a lot of times the single family homes I would get like three bedroom and two baths, whereas the duplex it's hard to find 3-2 on both sides. So what we find a lot is like 2 and 1 or maybe 3 and 1. 3 and 1 will be better obviously because one more bedroom equals a little bit more rental income. So you have to look at that. Single family home, like I said, anywhere between about 1,800 to probably 2,300 in 2022 market. Now the configuration, as I mentioned, 2-1 or 3-1, and then single family, probably the best one is 3-2. And now this is kind of tricky one. If you're doing house hacking, meaning you buy the property as a primary resident so that you can pay a lot less down payment, for example, like 3.5%. If you're buying as an investment property, you have to put down 25%. That's typical minimum. So there's a lot of big difference in the down payment amount. Whether it can be 3-5%, that's like $20,000-$30,000 versus $130,000. So you have to have a lot more money to buy as an investment. But if you can buy as a primary, the beauty of it is that in a duplex you buy both and you live in one of them as a primary, so you can get the low down payment situation. You can do the same thing on single family home, but if it's both units are vacant, it's pretty fine. Either are fine, but if the duplex or single family home they're occupied, obviously single family home you're not going to be able to buy as a primary unless you vacate that tenant. If one of the duplex unit is occupied, then it could be a pretty easy transaction because you can buy the other unit as a primary and keep that tenant. Now, when you keep that tenant, that's where the tricky part comes in. What kind of rental that they're paying right now, whether it's a market value or is it like 10 years ago rental rate? And then what kind of things are included in that rent? A lot of times I find that is that if the water and sewer, garbage, and those things are included in the rent, typically it's not the best investment because that eats up your profit. So those are the things that I look at pretty closely, cash flow wise. I know the duplexes are more expensive, and probably the single family homes are going to be appreciating more than the duplex in the long run. But I still prefer duplex, especially if I'm younger than I am. Well, maybe I am right now. I'm okay. But if I'm like younger than 40 years old and you don't have big family, if you have a kid, it might not be the best to buy a duplex. It may be better to just buy a single family home. So you don't have to get stressed about your kid being loud or vice versa. But if I'm younger than 40 years old, maybe one kid, small family, and willing to live in a duplex situation for maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I will go with this one, duplex. That would be my first choice. Because of that lower risk on the vacancy rate, you have more flexibility because of one more unit is there. And yet it's not as overwhelmingly difficult like fourplex that you have to deal with a lot of tenant. If I'm older, if I have like one or two kids, I'll just go with single family home. The duplex situation might be pretty tough unless you can find 3-2. Or if you can find 3-1, I think you can deal with 3-1 with maybe two young kids. So these are the things that you have to consider when you're comparing apple and orange, the duplex and single family home. And right now, if I find a single family home that is under $400,000, I may go with that. Because duplexes in a decent location, they're more like $600,000. But if I see a duplex that is close to $550,000 in a decent location, I'll go with that. And then the other thing that I didn't have here is one of those like things you don't see right off the bat is like property taxes. Now, property taxes can be very different depending on the county. If the property tax is right now close to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, I would not buy that because that's directly eating up your rental income. Same thing on both sides. Beyond age, beyond everything else, it's all flexible. If the property tax is higher, way higher here, I will go with that. If the price is better on this one, I'll go with that. If the price is like this, a little bit more expensive, everything else is comparable, I'll go with that. Let's see, the condition. If this one is like remodeled and still under $450,000 and it's in Portland Metro, I'll go with that. Let's see what else. Now, average rental, obviously, this is not exact science, but if some areas the rental is close to $2,400 and the price is below $450, I will go with that. But if the property tax is $8,000, I wouldn't go with that. Do you see my point? So you have to look at the variables and compare it and see which one really cash flows well. You have to look at the long-term appreciation potential, unforeseen repair cost when you do the inspection, and general condition-wise, how roughly it's been used. That's important too. And a lot of times the roof, furnace, siding, and foundation, those are probably the four most important repair items. If like two of those need to be replaced right away, you may need to negotiate that in so you don't pay that. You basically get some credit so you can do the repair. So hopefully this gives you some answers. So no matter where you are in the country, as long as you're in the United States, you have to compare these conditions And there's some good apps like cash flow apps. I'll actually put a link. What's it called? It's called so it's called Evaluator. That one. It kind of showed you. You plug in about 3, 4, 5 numbers, and it showed you the cash flow. It showed you the property report, projection on what kind of appreciation you're gonna get, and then you can adjust the rental and everything like that. It's about $20, and it's definitely worth it. User interface is kind of clunky, but it's pretty simple. It's better than other spreadsheets that I have used. So hopefully this gave you some idea, good comparison point. And if you're comparing in the Portland metro area, I'll be happy to guide you through. If you're in the rest of the country, I may be able to find you an experienced agent for you, so you can reach out to me if you can find anyone that you can trust and like. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and please hit the like button and subscribe so that other people, the first-time buyers and first-time investors, can see this video.